Take my toys, human. I need money to buy medicine for my mother, begged the alien girl. The space station called Havenport Ring never truly slept. Light flowed through its long glass corridors like a slow river. Ships arrived and left every minute, some small as insects, some so large they blocked the stars behind them. Voices from 100 species mixed together, sharp clicks, soft hums, deep rumbles, and languages that sounded like wind passing through metal. Humans were still new here. They walked carefully, watched closely, and were often ignored. Most species thought humans were harmless traders, curious explorers, or polite observers who asked too many questions. Humans had no powerful fleets on display here, no ancient empires, no fearsome reputation. They were just present. Ethan Cole walked through the outer market ring with his hands in his coat pockets, eyes moving slowly from stall to stall. He was not rich. He was not important. He was simply a human trader who bought strange things and sold them to other humans who liked strange things. Sometimes tools, sometimes art, sometimes objects no one else wanted. The outer market was where forgotten people sold forgotten goods. Ethan liked it there. Most stalls glowed with holograms and bright colors. Vendors shouted offers in many languages, advertising energy crystals, living fabrics, self-growing metals, and food that changed flavor with thought. But one stall did not glow. It was small, dim, and quiet. The table was old metal, scratched and bent. On it sat a collection of objects that looked simple, small mechanical shapes. Rings, cubes, flat discs, little figures that looked almost like toys. No lights, no holograms, no sales pitch. Behind the table stood an alien woman. She was shorter than Ethan, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Her hair, if it could be called hair, fell in soft silver strands around her face. Her clothes were clean but clearly old, mended many times. She watched the crowd pass, hope slowly fading from her posture. Ethan stopped. He didn't know why at first. Something about the stall felt quiet in a loud place, honest in a market full of noise. He stepped closer. The alien woman noticed him and straightened quickly. "Human," she said in careful basic trade. Her voice trembled. "Please." "Look, please." Ethan looked at the objects on the table. "They're interesting," he said honestly. Her eyes widened. Yes, they are useful, very useful." She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "Please take them, all of them." "All of them?" Ethan asked, surprised. "Yes," she swallowed. "Take my toys, human. I need money to buy medicine for my mother." The words came out rushed, desperate, as if she had practiced them many times and feared this chance would vanish. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. Around them, other buyers passed without slowing. A tall, insect-like trader glanced at the stall and clicked dismissively. A glowing energy being laughed softly and moved on. No one else stopped. "How much?" Ethan asked. The alien woman named a price. It was low, very low. Ethan frowned. "For all of this?" "Yes," she said quickly. "I will not ask more, I just please." He knelt slightly to examine one of the objects. It was a small ring with tiny mechanical grooves, no power source he could see. "What does this do?" he asked. Her eyes lit up just a little. "That stabilizes motion," she said. "It reduces vibration, it works without energy, mechanical balance only." Ethan blinked. "No power?" he asked. She shook her head. "No need, it balances itself." He picked up another item, a cube with sliding sides. "And this?" "Adaptive storage," she said. "It changes shape to protect fragile things." Again, no visible power source. Ethan's interest deepened. These weren't toys, they were tools, simple, elegant, and shockingly clever. "You made these?" he asked. "Yes," she said quietly. "My mother taught me from our world." "Why aren't you selling them in the inner market?" Ethan asked. Her shoulders sagged. "They say my people's work is primitive, not worth registration, not worth licenses." Her voice shook. "They say we copy ideas, but we don't. We just solve problems differently." Ethan stood slowly. "How much is the medicine?" he asked. She told him. It was far more than her asking price. Ethan didn't comment. He pulled out his payment device and transferred the full amount she asked for. Then he paused. He transferred more. Her device chimed. She stared at it, confused. "This is too much," she said quickly. "I didn't ask." "I know," Ethan said, "but it's still not enough." Tears filled her eyes. "My mother, she will live," she whispered, almost afraid to say it. "I hope so," Ethan said gently. He gathered the items carefully and placed them into his carry case. "What is your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she said. "I'm Ethan." She bowed slightly, her culture's sign of deep thanks. As Ethan walked away, he felt eyes on his back. Some curious, some amused. No one thought much of it. Later that cycle, Ethan sat in a small human communal space on the station. A few other humans were there, engineers, traders, explorers. He placed the items on the table. "Look at this," he said. They leaned in. One engineer picked up the stabilizing ring and tested it. "That's impossible," she said slowly. "There's no power draw." Another examined the adaptive cube. "This design is brilliant," he murmured. "Why would anyone ignore this?" Ethan smiled faintly. "They called them toys." Silence followed. Then someone laughed, not mockingly, but with wonder. "Humans love toys," another said. Ethan looked at the simple objects spread across the table. He thought of Lyra standing alone in the market. He thought of her mother waiting for medicine. And he thought, with a quiet certainty, that the galaxy had just made a very familiar mistake. They had looked at something simple, and they had failed to look closer. The next day on Havensport Ring began like any other. Ships docked, traders argued. Lights shifted from soft blue to warm gold as the station moved through its artificial cycle. Most beings followed routines shaped by centuries of habit. Humans did not. They experimented. In the human communal workspace, Ethan stood near a long metal table. The toys were laid out neatly, each one cleaned and carefully placed. Around the table stood 8 humans of different backgrounds, engineers, medics, explorers, and one quiet woman who worked in logistics. None of them were smiling now. They were staring. "I've tested it 6 times, said Mara, the engineer from the night before. She held the stabilizing ring between 2 fingers. "No power, no field, no signal, but it cancels vibration better than half the tech we buy." "That shouldn't be possible," said Jonas, a ship mechanic. "Even dampeners need energy." Mara shook her head. "This doesn't. It uses balance, mechanical perfection. If you shake it, it pushes back just enough." Ethan watched them carefully. This was the moment he always waited for, the moment when curiosity turned into respect. Another human, Dr. Hale, lifted the adaptive cube. "This thing adjusts pressure automatically," she said slowly. "If I put something fragile inside, it absorbs shock. That could save medical supplies in disaster zones." "Or people," Jonas added quietly. The room fell silent. Humans shared a look. Ethan broke the silence. "Her name is Lyra. She made these. Her people do things differently." "Different doesn't mean lesser," Mara said. "It means ignored." She set the ring down with care. "We need to test all of them," she continued. "Fully, properly." That was how it began. For the next several cycles, humans came and went from the workspace. Word spread quietly through human channels, not loudly, not publicly. Humans had learned long ago that when something mattered, you didn't shout about it, you checked it first. Each object revealed something new. A flat disk that redistributed heat evenly without coolant. A mechanical latch that could never jam, no matter how damaged. A tiny figure that looked like a child's toy animal, but inside was a perfect air filtration system for toxic environments. Every item followed the same rule. No power, no software, no failure. "This is survival tech," Jonas said one evening, rubbing tired eyes. "Not luxury." "Not warfare, survival," Ethan nodded. "She said her mother taught her." "On a poor world," Myra added, "probably with limited resources." Dr. Hale folded her arms. "Which means these designs weren't made for profit. They were made because failure wasn't an option." That idea stayed with them. Meanwhile, in a quiet medical district of the station, Lyra sat beside her mother's bed. The medicine had worked. Her mother's breathing was steady now. The sharp pain lines on her face had softened. She slept deeply, peacefully for the first time in many cycles. Lyra held her hand and cried silently, not from fear anymore, from relief. She did not know what the human was doing with her creations. She did not expect anything more. In her experience, kindness was often brief. But humans were strange that way. Back in the market district, something unusual began to happen. Human traders started asking questions. "Do you have anything like this?" they asked vendors. When vendors laughed or dismissed them, the humans nodded politely and moved on. They took notes. They always took notes. Ethan returned to the outer market after 4 cycles. He found Lyra's stall empty. His chest tightened. Then he saw her. She stood near a wall, speaking with a station clerk. Her posture was stronger now, her voice steadier. When she saw Ethan, she froze. "You came back," she said, surprised. "I told you," he replied. "Humans don't forget," she hesitated. "I thought once the trade was done," Ethan smiled. "We're not done." He handed her a data pad. "What is this?" she asked. "An application," he said. For design registration, human-sponsored. Her eyes widened. But my people are yours, Ethan said. The credit stays with you. Humans just open the door. Lyra stared at the pad like it might vanish. They said no one would take us seriously. Ethan shrugged. They weren't human. Over the next few cycles, human ships began quietly integrating Lyra's designs, not into weapons, into tools. Cargo ships used the stabilizers to protect supplies. Medical transports used the adaptive storage. Explorers used the heat disks on dead worlds where energy was scarce. Reports came back. Nothing failed. Not once. A human relief ship encountered a solar storm that wiped out most systems. The ship stayed operational using only mechanical backups, many of them inspired by Lyra's designs. The crew returned safely. The report was filed and ignored at first. Galactic analysts skimmed it and moved on. Humans were known for exaggeration, sentiment, overconfidence. But humans kept using the tech, and something else happened. Humans began asking questions about Lyra's people, their homeworld, their methods. How do they test? Lyra explained that her people valued learning by hand, by failure. Children were taught to build things that must work because resources were rare and mistakes were dangerous. Humans listened. Many of them smiled in a way that made other species uneasy. That's how we started too, Jonas said one night. Mara nodded. Trial, error, no safety net. The connection felt natural. Then the first offer came. A small human manufacturing group sent Lyra a message. They wanted to license her designs, fairly, with profit sharing. With credit, she almost declined, not because she didn't want the money, but because she didn't trust it. Ethan sat with her in the station cafe, watching ships drift past the window. Why are you afraid? He asked gently. Because where I come from, Lyra said, interest means control, and control means loss. Ethan nodded slowly. Humans have been there, he said. That's why we write contracts that protect the creator. He slid another document across the table. Her name was at the top, not his. Not the company's, hers. Lyra's hands shook as she signed. The first shipment of human-made devices using her designs sold out in hours, not because they were flashy, because they worked. Humans began calling them simple tools. Other species laughed. Primitive, they said. Outdated, they said. Human nostalgia, they said. Humans didn't argue. They never did when they were sure. Then the blackout happened. A massive trade hub 3 systems away suffered a cascading energy failure. Advanced systems shut down. AI cores froze. Automated life support stalled. Panic spread. Most ships were forced to evacuate. Human ships docked anyway. Using simple tools, they delivered food, medicine, air, stability, no weapons, no demands, just function. Reports flooded in. The same words repeated. Reliable. But to learn, Lyra looked up at the station lights and felt something new settle in her chest. Hope. Because somewhere in the galaxy, humans were doing what they always did best. They were paying attention. And the galaxy was about to realize that was dangerous. At first, the galaxy explained everything away. That was what it always did when something did not fit old beliefs. The blackout at the trade hub was labeled an unusual coincidence. The human ships that functioned during the failure were described as lucky. The reports praising simple tools were marked as emotional exaggerations. Humans were known for that, after all. They cared too much. On Havensport Ring, life continued. The station lights cycled. Ships docked and departed. But beneath the routine, something had changed. People were watching humans now, not openly, not with fear, with curiosity. Ethan felt it every time he walked through the corridors. Conversations paused, eyes followed. Traders whispered in languages they thought humans could not understand. Why are they so calm? The simple tools were no longer just test objects. They were integrated into daily use. A cargo loader used a mechanical stabilizer instead of an energy damper. A medic used an adaptive case to protect fragile samples. A maintenance worker used a heat disk to fix a frozen conduit without drawing power. Nothing flashy, everything effective. Mara reviewed incoming reports on her data screen. No failures, she said softly. Jonas leaned back in his chair. Still, she replied. Even under stress, even when damaged. Dr. Hale crossed her arms. That's the problem, Jonas frowned. Problem? Yes, she said. If something never fails, people start asking why. As if summoned by her words, Ethan's communicator chimed. He glanced at the message and sighed. What is it? Mara asked. Galactic Trade Oversight, Ethan replied. They want a meeting. The room went quiet. That organization did not ask politely unless something mattered. The meeting chamber was large and formal. Smooth walls, neutral lighting, and seats shaped to fit dozens of species. Ethan sat alone on the human side. Across from him sat three representatives, a tall crystalline being who refracted light with every movement, a wide-bodied amphibian trader with slow, heavy blinks, and a thin, sharp-featured official whose eyes never stopped moving. "Human Ethan Cole," the sharp one said, "you are involved in the recent distribution of unregistered devices." Ethan nodded calmly. "Yes. These devices are being used across multiple systems," the crystalline being added, "without proper classification." "They are tools," Ethan said, "not weapons." "That is not the concern," the amphibian replied. "The concern is disruption." "Disruption of what?" Ethan asked. The three exchanged a look. "Markets," the sharp official said finally. "Expectations, stability," Ethan smiled faintly. "Stability is improved," he said. "That's what the reports say." The crystalline being shifted, light scattering. "Your tools function without power," it said. "That challenges long-standing economic structures." Ethan leaned forward slightly. "Then perhaps the structures are fragile," he said. The meeting ended without threats, which worried everyone. Word spread quickly through the station. The galaxy was paying attention now. Not approvingly. Elsewhere on the station, Lyra felt the change too. Her stall was busier than ever, not with buyers but with observers. Officials passed slowly. Analysts scanned her work. Some asked polite questions. Others asked nothing at all and simply recorded. She remained calm on the outside. Inside, fear whispered. She remembered what attention had meant for her people before. Loss, control, silence. One evening, Ethan found her closing her stall early. "You're worried," he said gently. "They are watching," she replied. "Not like you," Ethan nodded. "That's true." She looked at him sharply. "Then why aren't you afraid?" He considered the question. "Because humans have been watched before," he said, "and we learned something important." "What?" "If someone is watching," he said, "it means they don't understand yet." Lyra wasn't sure that comforted her. The next sign came from far away. A core world, wealthy, advanced, proud, suffered a system-wide failure during a routine upgrade. Energy grids flickered. Automated traffic froze. Climate control stuttered. It was not a disaster, but it was embarrassing. Emergency teams responded quickly. Advanced tech rebooted. Systems recovered. But during the failure, something interesting happened. Human embassies stayed operational. Human habitats stayed stable. Human ships did not shut down. Investigators took notice. "How?" they asked. Humans answered simply, "We plan for failure." The word spread, and unsettled many. On Havensport Ring, a public forum was announced. A discussion on technological standards and safety. Humans were invited, so was Lyra. The hall was full. Representatives spoke at length about regulation, progress, and the dangers of regressive design. Then a human engineer was given the floor. Mara stepped forward. She did not raise her voice. She did not accuse. She simply placed a simple tool on the table. "This," she said, "works when nothing else does." A ripple moved through the audience. "This design does not replace advanced technology," Mara continued. "It supports it." "It catches you when you fall," someone interrupted. "Why should we adopt human sentiment?" Mara smiled slightly. "This isn't sentiment," she said. "It's humility." Lyra watched from the side, heart pounding. Then someone asked the question she feared. "Who created this?" All eyes turned to her. For a moment the old fear rose. Then she remembered her mother sleeping peacefully. She stepped forward. "I did," Lyra said, "with knowledge from my people." Silence, not mocking, not dismissive, considering. The forum ended without applause. But it ended without laughter, too. That night Ethan stood at a window watching the stars. Jonas joined him. "They're scared," Jonas said. "Of us?" Ethan asked. Jonas shook his head. "Of themselves, of how fragile everything is." Ethan nodded. "Humans don't mind fragility," he said. "We build around it." Far away, systems recalculated, policies were drafted, quiet resistance formed. And deep in the networks of the galaxy, one truth began to spread slowly, unwillingly. Humans were not trying to dominate. They were trying to survive. And they were very, very good at it. The galaxy liked control. It liked systems that predicted outcomes, machines that adjusted everything before it could go wrong, and networks so complex that no single being truly understood them anymore. For a long time that had worked. Then slowly it stopped. It did not begin with disaster. It began with small failures, the kind that reports described as minor irregularities. A station's climate system took longer to adjust. A navigation AI needed an extra reboot. An automated factory paused for reasons it could not explain. Each problem was fixed. Each problem was ignored. Humans noticed. On Havensport Ring, Mara stared at a stream of incoming data with a tight expression. "Patterns," she said quietly. Jonas leaned over her shoulder. "You're seeing it too?" "Yes," she replied. "They're patching symptoms, not causes." Ethan stood nearby, arms crossed. "Over-reliance," he said. "Too many layers, too little understanding." Dr. Hale nodded. "If one layer fails, the others don't know how to adapt." Lyra listened from the corner of the room. Her people had known this problem for generations. Complex systems were powerful, but simple systems survived. The first major collapse happened without warning. A central transit nexus, one of the most important travel hubs in the region, lost synchronization between its energy grid and traffic control systems. Ships froze in place, docking arms locked, life support systems dropped to emergency levels. Panic spread quickly. Authorities issued calm statements. Situation under control, but minutes turned into hours. Advanced repair drones failed to respond. AI overseers entered endless calculation loops. The nexus went dark except for one section. The human quarter, lights stayed on. Air stayed clean. Gravity remained stable. Human engineers moved calmly through corridors, switching to manual controls, mechanical backups, and simple tools. They did not broadcast this. They just worked. Nearby species noticed anyway. A delegation arrived at the edge of the human quarter, hesitant. "Your systems," one official said carefully. "How are they functioning?" Mara answered honestly. "They're not dependent on the main grid." "That is inefficient," the official said. Jonas smiled faintly. "Yes. And inefficient things don't collapse all at once." As conditions worsened, requests began to arrive. Quiet ones at first. Could humans assist with air filtration? Could they help stabilize medical storage? Could they show how their systems worked? Humans asked one question in return. "Are you ready to do it manually?" Some refused. Pride held strong. Others agreed. Those were the ones who survived the worst of the failure. Across the nexus, small pockets of stability appeared, always near humans. Always built around simple, redundant solutions. The collapse ended after 2 long cycles. Engineers eventually forced a system reset. Power returned. Traffic resumed. Official reports blamed rare fluctuations, but something had changed. The galaxy had seen the difference. And it made many uncomfortable. On Havensport Ring, regulations tightened. New rules limited the spread of unregistered tools. Lyra received official notices questioning her designs, requests for review, for temporary suspension. She sat at her stall, reading the messages again and again. "They're trying to bury it," she said quietly to Ethan. "Yes," he replied. "They always do at first." "Will they succeed?" Ethan looked around the market, at humans passing calmly, at other species watching with growing uncertainty. "No," he said, "because now they know what happens without us." The next failure was larger. A planetary network, not a core world, but important enough that its loss mattered. Weather control systems drifted out of alignment. Automated agriculture failed to respond. Supply routes broke down. Food shortages followed. Still no war, still no violence. Just systems that refused to behave. The Planetary Council debated for too long. When they finally requested aid, the message was brief. To human representatives, assistance requested. Human ships arrived within hours, not fleets. Relief vessels. They brought food preserved in adaptive containers. They brought climate stabilizers that worked without power surges. They brought engineers who knew how to fix things with their hands. Local officials watched in disbelief. "This technology is outdated," one said. "It's prepared," a human medic replied. Lyra was there too. She worked beside human engineers, showing how to assemble devices from local materials. Her hands moved with confidence now. Her voice was steady. Her people's knowledge saved lives. No announcements were made. No speeches. When the systems were stable again, the humans left. Behind them, something remained. Understanding. On galactic networks, debates erupted. Humans are undermining progress. Humans are exploiting crises. Humans are creating dependence. Humans responded rarely. When they did, they said the same thing. "We help because it works." On Havensport Ring, a closed session of the Galactic Trade Oversight was called. Ethan was summoned again. This time he was not alone. Lyra sat beside him, so did Mara. The officials looked tired. "You have caused instability," one said bluntly. Ethan shook his head. "No, we revealed it. Your tools bypass economic systems," another said. "They bypass failure," Mara replied. "You encourage regression," a third insisted. Lyra spoke then, her voice was calm. "My people were called primitive," she said. "Yet our designs saved your stations, your ships, your worlds." Silence followed, not angry, uncomfortable. "What do you want?" the crystalline official asked finally. Ethan answered. "Recognition," he said, "fair access and permission to keep helping." The officials exchanged looks. They did not agree, not yet, but they did not deny it either. That night, Havensport Ring experienced its own failure. A sudden surge knocked out several station systems. Lights flickered. Gravity shifted. Panic spread. Humans switched modes instantly. Manual overrides engaged. Simple tools deployed. Corridors stabilized. Medical wards stayed operational. Other species watched in real time. No simulations, no theories, just reality. When power returned, the station stood intact. So did the humans, and something else stood too, respect. Lyra walked through the market the next day. Other vendors nodded to her now. Some asked questions, some asked for help. She no longer stood alone. Ethan watched from a distance, hands in his pockets. Jonas joined him. "They can't ignore it anymore," Jonas said. "No," Ethan replied. "Next comes acceptance. And after that?" Ethan looked out at the stars. "Change," he said. Across the galaxy, systems adjusted. Not quickly, not easily, but they adjusted. Because one truth had become impossible to deny. When everything else stopped working, humans didn't.